We're doing it live. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Hopefully, my video feed will be smooth, but I've been having some trouble with my video feeds, but hopefully, this one will be smooth. And the topic of today's video is that Alex Jones cannot stop lying about Adolf Hitler and National Socialism in World War II. He just can't stop lying about it. And I think I figured out why he lies and why Tucker Carlson is playing this little game, CIA agent Tucker Carlson. And it's actually summed up in the video of him speaking with Tucker Carlson. And I believe the reason that they do this is because, well, first of all, I believe Tucker Carlson's show is sponsored by J.D. Vance. Is that correct? Does Tucker Carlson work for J.D. Vance? I think he does. The vice president of the United States. So this is basically an outlet of the White House. And this is, I finally think I figured out why they do this, but they take our talking points. They talk about the neocons and how there's certain groups doing certain things and 9/11 and USS Liberty. They'll take all the same things we say and then say, but let's vote Republican. But vote Republican, right? And it never gets fixed. It never gets fixed. Vote Republican never gets fixed. And in fact, that was one of the points that I'm going to point out in this interview that Alex Jones does with Tucker Carlson. Is Tucker Carlson asks him, "What do we do to to fix this?" He's like, "Well, you can vote. You can vote for another Republican." Okay, that's okay. So anyway, what I've discovered is, and I'm going to go through a couple of these points. Is that one of the talking points of Alex Jones was that people like Adolf Hitler because they're called a Nazi a bunch of times, and they go, well, then I guess I'm just one. No, dude, that's not how it works. See, Alex Jones wants you to think it's some kind of a trick, like people got tricked into liking Hitler, or something like it's like something. He makes up some stupid explanation in this interview, like, well, they just get called a white supremacist and then they just go, well, gosh darn it, I guess I am one. Gosh darn it, I guess I choose just like Adolf Hitler. That's not how it works, Alex, you dumbass. Alex Jones, does he really believe that? No, I don't know if he does, but that's his explanation. And so what I think is the White House and J.D. Vance and that whole group are going, look, all these things these people are saying are true, so just go out and say the same things they're saying, but then don't pivot towards National Socialism and Adolf Hitler, but pivot back towards the Republican Party and bring them back into the Republican Party and get them to reject Adolf. Like, I think it's like I think it's a planned out way of like a planned out agenda. I think they planned agenda, and that kind of sums up what they're trying to do. So, in my opinion, now if you ever notice, like if you ever heard like a neo-Nazi, and you'll go on the ADL website and they've got like guys with tattoos on their faces and tattoos on their arms and their face and their neck, and they've just got out of prison. Okay, those are what's called prison gangs. Okay, from my experience, I'm 52 years old. Actual people that have some kind. Okay, I'm 52 years old. Most people that I know, either on Facebook or that I've met in real life, that had an inclination towards liking Hitler or National Socialism, didn't want to kill the Jews, and don't have tattoos, and they weren't in prison. Okay, that's my experience. That actual National Socialists are just normal people, but you have to have this big propaganda machine coming out of Hollywood and New York and the Alex Jones show and Tucker Carlson about how this is like some scary weird thing. Well, it's made to seem that way because it's an organization which is outside of the political power group. Now, I have met prison gangs in my life, and frankly, they didn't even know anything about. Like, they had all the tattoos and they had the face tattoos, and they were in actual prison gangs that are in the prisons, right, in the state prisons. They didn't know anything about World War II. They didn't know anything about National Socialism. Maybe there's some that do. Like, once they get in there, maybe they read about it. But most of them don't. It's just like it has nothing to do. One thing has nothing to do with the other. But the Anti-Defamation League likes to hype up this whole neo-Nazi thing, right? What I'm saying is, I would call myself a natural socialist or a national socialist, but I actually like the word natural better, meaning that it's based on natural law. So I want to just here's somebody that I respect, and this is a woman who's in her 80s who was sent to prison many times for her beliefs, and she was never featured on Alex Jones, and Tucker Carlson never sought to interview her. But I'm gonna let you listen to her a little bit right here. Her name's Ursula Haverbeck.
I would say national socialism is a better way than capitalism or communism. That is quite clear, that I would say. Because economy as it is now is deadly. It's really deadly to the earth and to the human beings.
There you go. See, that's just a normal person. That's a grandma. That's someone who says, I think that this way is better than communism and capitalism because the economic system as it is now is deadly. It's deadly. It's deadly to the earth and the wildlife, and it's deadly to human beings. That's our view, Alex. That's our view, Tucker. Don't care if you don't like it. But so let's listen to a little bit of the interview that Alex did. And it's not that I disagree with everything they said, but they take a lot of our talking points and then they go, but Hitler was a piece of this and that. And then they make up a bunch of lies. So I want you to hear a little bit of it.
Always great to be with you and your wonderful crew in Florida, but Maine is my favorite. This is truly a little slice of Maine.
I'm going to try and skip ahead to where they start talking about the subject.
And
the real problem is he got murdered.
Absolutely. And a mile from my office.
Okay, it's just after this.
Because people can see it's about the whole world really is a meritocracy. And so there are people of every color and group that can excel, but you've got...
Okay, now this is where he starts talking about the meritocracy stuff, which is fine. I'm not even against meritocracy as meritocracy is, if you're going to have a big race mixing thing, then you're going to have a meritocracy. So, I mean, I don't even disagree with the idea of a meritocracy. Okay. But let's just, then they start with that because this is what the White House is pushing now. It's this line, the meritocracy, which it's better than what the other garbage, right? I mean, I agree, but then let's see where it goes from here. Let's see how they start lying about Adolf Hitler and World War II, where Alex says that, and Tucker says that Hitler destroyed Europe. No, bro. No. It was the U.S. Air Force that bombed Europe. It was the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Army that invaded France. When Hitler came into France, there was hardly any death. It was like people were cheering. Look, I've got all kinds of images on my computer that I've saved over the years of what it looked like in France when it was run by National Socialist Germany under Adolf Hitler. People are riding their bikes around. People are going to the Eiffel Tower. Everyone looks happy. And there's soldiers walking around in Paris with no guns. How do German soldiers walk around Paris with no guns in their uniform? No visible guns. They don't have rifles. They don't have sidearms, nothing. How does that? And you're telling me they destroyed Germany? They destroyed Europe? No. It wasn't the Germans that destroyed Europe. It was the American Air Force and the British Air Force and the U.S. invasion at Normandy, which destroyed Europe, and it never recovered. Europe never recovered. It's been under that group the whole time. So let's listen to a little bit about of this garbage.
To actually excel, you get rid of meritocracy, civilization collapses. The modern West has been about meritocracy. And that is the unifier. You can have anything you want.
Okay, that's a fine idea. That's a fine way to go. But is that how America was founded? Was America really founded in the beginning as a meritocracy? No. Just read the 1790s Act, the Naturalization Act. It says that that a naturalized citizen was a free white person. Okay. So it wasn't based on meritocracy. It was based on your race. But now they're saying, but the modern thing is the meritocracy, right? Well, that wasn't the original then. So that's not 1776, Alex. But I don't want to go into 1776 yet because I'm not a big fan of 17. I'm a fan of the Enlightenment, but it's my view that 1776 marks the end of the Enlightenment, not the beginning of it. It started around the 1500s and into the 1600s, and it ended with the establishment of the U.S. Unfortunately, luckily, some of those ideals did make it into our laws in the beginning, but that was it. Once they got Washington D.C. set up, it was all eviscerated. But let's continue with a little bit more of this.
Be anybody you want, but you've got to be able to execute and perform it.
Once you get rid of that, then you just revert to tribalism.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Then it's just
See, this is how these are the Republican talking points coming from the White House.
I'm promoting my cousin,
Yes.
or let's have all my friends from, Delhi come here.
And I've got a bigger gang than you, and so
Right.
we're going to be in charge.
Okay. Well, that's called race based. So every civilization on the earth since the beginning of time. And so that's what we're changing. We're changing the natural order created by God since the beginning of the time. That's what we have to throw out the window. For who? That's the magical question. Who are we throwing out our race-based society for? Who are these people? It seems like it's just one group of people really that has a problem with that, and they're in charge.
And then the gangs squat in the ruins of the once great civilization.
Okay, let's
in
get it up.
1917, British intelligence working with a lot of Russian immigrants.
Russian immigrants. Let's continue.
To New York, put 100,000 men into Russia, and sent Stalin's train of gold in. And
Okay, see that this is
took
just
them
more
years
than
to control.
repeating
Took them
our
years to control.
talking points.
Find Alex Jones.
They wanted.
I'm going to skip ahead a little.
They wanted the rare earth minerals.
Okay.
And source was involved, as you know, setting up communism.
Right. So here they go. They go through all of our talking points. They go through all the right-wing Hitlerian National Socialist talking points. And then they're going to go, but Hitler was bad. He ruined Europe. Vote Republican. Watch.
And then he gets arrested in Portland.
Yeah.
So, but I was interrupting you. That's a really important point, that they label you and demonize you to their constituents,
go.
so you can be attacked, everything taken away from you. First, you're dehumanized, and then anything they want to do, teach your kids transgenderism, open the borders up, you're automatically, and you stand up for yourself, a white supremacist. But then it causes what you talked about.
Here we go. Here's the little mental trick. They think that this is the crux of the thing, dude. See, they think that people like National Socialism or like Adolf Hitler, because of some reactive mental phenomena happening, that's not what's causing it. It's caused. See, here's the thing. Let me play this for you again. This is Ursula Haberback. She's an actual National Socialist who was arrested multiple times by the German government for having opinions that contradict the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
I would say National Socialism is a better way than capitalism or communism. That is quite clear, that I would say. Because economy as it is now is deadly. It's really deadly to the earth and to the human beings.
Right. See, that's what we think, Alex. We haven't been tricked by your little left-wing goblins and shit like that. You're just such a liar. He's gonna lie more though. We gotta listen to his lies first.
Months ago, we were in Florida and spoke right after your dad had passed, God bless him. And that was, you're really worried about a false flag against Jewish groups or something that'll then be used, or a real attack, to really pass draconian speech restrictions.
Yeah.
And now, because everybody's been called white supremacist, because everybody, who stands up for traditional values has been called bad, a lot of them go, well, you know what? I do like Hitler then.
See, he thinks it's a mental trick. Alex Jones wants you to think it's a mental trick that was caused by talking to liberals. What an idiot. This is so stupid. So stupid, dude.
And they don't have enough history or context.
Well, that's right.
Oh yes, I don't have enough history, Alex. I just don't know the history of the context. Now you're going to watch Alex become completely schizophrenic here in a second, which is going to be funny, and I'm going to point it out to you because you may have missed it when you watched the video. This is where I had to stop watching. But Alex just said, people like me. Oh, I just don't know the history. Why didn't you watch some of my videos, Alex? I know the history of Egypt. Do you? my history lesson starts literally with Egyptian records, bro. I know the history. I don't know the history of everything, but I know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to use bad language.
So they don't understand. Like, look,
Well, can you just pause that? That is such a smart point.
Oh,
I just
yeah.
want to say Hitler was a total piece of shit.
Oh, really? Really? Because I've listened to. So here's the thing. Video. I don't say these things because I hate Jews or want to kill Jews. And if you believe that, you're an idiot. Okay? If you believe that, you're the idiot. You're the fool. You're the clown, and you're the one that's been tricked. Okay? But see, I can listen to his speeches, and I can listen, and I that he wrote, and I've listened to a lot of his speeches, and that's actually why I like the guy. See, I like him because I agree with what he was saying, and what he was saying was good. See, from my opinion, this is my personal opinion, is that Adolf Hitler was the last politician in Europe that tried to do something to help the German people and the people of Austria. Those were his kindred people. He was the last person to try to help them. Now, I would say that Orban in Hungary is trying to help his people, and he's been successful at it. And I would also say that Gaddafi in Libya tried to help his people, and he got killed. And I would say that Vladimir Putin has spent his whole life serving the Russian people. Okay, and I know that Vladimir Putin is, Russia's against the Germans, but that is a feud that's a blood feud that goes back like 1,000 years. Okay, so what I'm saying is, I kind of lost my train of thought here, but see, the reason I haven't been tricked by talking to leftists and them calling me names that's how I developed my political ideology. No, dude. See, let me tell you the truth. I started admiring or had affinity towards Adolf Hitler probably since I was 9 years old, and no one in my family did. They were just normal. My mother was like a Methodist. My father was an atheist Catholic who never went to church. And he wasn't really an atheist, but he was a Catholic that never went to church. And everyone in my family, I grew up in everybody was normal. And I just had an inclination towards liking Adolf Hitler since I was 9 years old. And I believed in the Holocaust for a long time. And I stopped believing in it. Actually, when I first started questioning, like maybe I was being lied to about it, was back when they used to have Blockbuster Video. And I went in there I went in there to watch a video because I used to rent videos there at Blockbuster. And there was a video about, it was made by Fred Leuchter and, God, I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, it was a video. I should remember his name. There was a guy he was a German guy living in Canada. They made a video about, how the gas chamber stuff worked, and they went and did this big investigation. David Cole was involved. Ernst Zundel, that's the guy who made the documentary. Anyway, when I saw that, I said, interesting. Maybe I'm being lied to. At that point, I hadn't even made up my mind, but I thought, well, maybe some of this stuff isn't true. So anyway, it's not what these idiots think. And this is just Tucker and Alex Jones are acting as an outlet for literally Palantir, the White House, J.D. Vance, vote Republican, bro.
Actually, and destroyed Europe. And why would you ever be for Hitler?
Right. So he's saying Hitler destroyed Europe. Well, Hitler didn't destroy Europe because when Hitler got elected, Hitler revived Europe. You see, the economy in Germany was destroyed under the Weimar Republic, which was backed by the United States and backed by Britain. See, they destroyed Europe. It was Britain and France that destroyed Europe with the Federal Reserve bankers that wanted to take over Europe because they already had a network there. They ruined Europe. They were at war with the Germanic races and they were at war with Christianity. And it was that group that Hitler was opposed to. And this doesn't mean I want to kill all the Jews because I don't. I like Jewish people. See? But you got to understand, it wasn't Hitler that bombed France. Hitler invaded France. It was almost like very little fighting, actually. They walked in, And then they walked around with no guns on their belts and talked to the women, and everybody loved them. And it was like a family reunion. You got to understand, it's like a family reunion. If you don't understand that, it's probably because you're not one of us. You're just not one of us. You don't have that something in your blood that makes you love the Germanic races and the European races. I have it. I've always had it. And it's either you have it or you don't. And if you don't have it, then you go off and you get tricked by these other groups of people. But anyway, let's listen to some more of this idiocy.
I don't really get it, but that, by the way, we should not have armed Stalin. We were not. That was totally evil.
If you had to say Stalin for total kills of people was worse than Hitler.
Of course, obviously, but bottom line, let's just start here. You don't arm Stalin. Okay, period. I mean, I don't care what the calculation is. I'm not sending money or weapons to Joseph Stalin, who's genociding.
And that's what Patton said. He wasn't pro-Hitler. He just said
exactly.
You should never have armed Stalin.
But just because you shouldn't have ever sent a single dollar to Stalin doesn't mean that Hitler's good.
But see, that's not why people like Hitler. It's not because it's the opposite. It's not a game. It's not some sort of Republican mind control experiment like everything else is that you know about. See, it's not. That's not it. It's not like, well, I'm for Hitler because you armed Stalin. No, that's not why. It's because I listened to his speeches and I liked him. I liked what he had to say and I agreed with him. And if you listen to his speeches, he doesn't rant about Jews all the time. You know who rants about Jews all the time? All the people in the Republican Party. That's all they talk about. They talk about Jews more than Hitler did. Hitler mentioned them a few times, but that wasn't like the main thing, right? The main thing about Hitler wasn't ranting about Jews all the time. That's the Republican Party. Okay, that's all they do. Every day, 24 hours a day, all they do is rant on and on about Jews and Zionism and Jews and the chosen people. That's not what Hitler was doing. Hitler was talking about Germany, what we can do for Germany. Let's do this, let's do that, let's build the economy. And he actually did. And the economy was going up. And that's why New York bombed Germany. That's why Britain bombed Germany, because the society was accelerating up into prosperity. And they wanted Germany to be their slave. And I've read the quote from the first official of NATO who said, the goal of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is to keep the Russians out, keep the Americans in, and keep the Germans down. How's that going? You like that? If you like it, I have a problem with you. But let's listen to some more of this idiocy.
It was a total piece of shit, actually, in my opinion. And whatever he did, he destroyed Europe.
But he didn't destroy Europe. The USA bombed Europe. Britain bombed Europe. It was the American government that bombed Europe and that attacked Europe. If America would have just left Germany for Hitler and Europe for Hitler, Europe would have become a superpower. Europe would look like basically Europe would be the closest thing if it would have stayed under Adolf Hitler. But instead, it was bombed by America. It was invaded by America. They installed a government over Germany and America to keep the Germans down. And then systematically, since 1945 and 46, exterminated the Germanic races, just as it was called for in the book Germany Must Perish by Theodor Kaufmann, who had this big plan about how all the Germans in the world, not just in Germany, but in the entire world, had to be sterilized. Okay, who is it that's coming up with all these horrible drugs for killing everybody? Who's coming up with all these perverse systems that destroy families and destroy civilizations? Not the Germans. No, we bombed the Germans. We destroyed the Germans. We have been militarily occupying the Germans since 1945. And Tucker says that Hitler ruined Europe. What an idiot. What an idiot. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
He did that. So I don't know why you can't, there's no like space in between. Why do you have to Why do you have to go right from we shouldn't have armed Stalin, which we should not have done? And it's shameful that we did that. And anyone who calls it the good war, a war where you're arming Stalin is not a good war. It's a shameful war.
Do you see how they're running a psyop on you? So you shouldn't go from that to this. Well, I'm not going from that to this. What are you talking about? This is some kind of weird Palantir, J.D. Vance, White House, Republican Party, psyop, weird, try to mind control you.
Repent of. But you don't have to go right to I love Hitler.
Then don't. Then don't. I do, though. It's none of your business, bro. Why is this such a problem for you? It's a problem for you because it's a problem for the Republican Party. You see, it's a problem for J.D. Vance. It's a problem for Donald Trump. It's a problem for the next election and the election after that, for the people that sponsor them. And we all know who those people are. People like Larry Ellison, who wants to build this gigantic surveillance system to surveil everybody, right? It's that group. It's the same group that Hitler said that he wanted to not be running over his country in Germany. It's the same people. Anyway, let's continue.
Right?
Well, that's the thing is.
Now,
you
Alex has
have
some really
totalitarian
stupid things
systems.
to
You have
say.
the fascists, you have the communists.
Yeah, how about neither one?
How about the Republican Party, bro? How about the Democrat Party? Those are totalitarian systems. Run by who? Who runs that? Who runs Oracle? Who just took over TikTok so nobody can talk? Who's throwing everybody in prison? Who threw Ursula Haberback in prison multiple times for her viewpoints because she was a National Socialist? Who did that? It was you. It was you guys. It was the Republican Party. Liking the hair. I don't use hair products, bro. Let's continue.
What the fuck?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you really read what Hitler himself wrote, it was all about a struggle. He said, if all the Germans died doing this and failed, they deserve to die.
Oh, God. Shut up, Alex. Now Alex is going to go on this rant of just watch how schizophrenic this is. Watch. Just watch.
And
So I just hate that right there. I hate sacrificing your own people, sending boys to go die in the defense of Berlin. You're losing. Why are you sending boys to go die? Fuck you. Sorry.
Why don't you say that to Theodore, what's his name? Why don't you say that to the U.S. Army that was invading or the Royal Air Force that was bombing Germany? Watch.
No, but you're actually learning though. So, and I don't mean the pop anti-Hitler stuff, but the real things. And so that's my issue is people are all black or white. You know, they're all very monochrome. And here's an example. Do you want a black widow or a brown recluse to be put in your bed at night?
Neither.
Yeah,
but we don't have to. So that's the part that freaks me out. Why would we ever put ourselves in a position where it's arm Stalin, be close allies with Joseph Stalin, who murdered tens of millions of Christians?
He's called Uncle Joe.
Yeah. Or be for Hitler? No. How about no and no? Like what?
Hey, look. What's wrong with Hitler? What's wrong with Hitler? He wanted to help the Germans. He was the last politician that did anything to help the Germans. Can you think of another politician since Hitler that cared as much about Germany as Hitler and Rudolf Hess? Like, who cared more about Germany than Rudolf Hess and Adolf Hitler and the National Socialist Party? Let's listen to Ursula Haberback. She's the last remnant of it, who just died a few years ago. Listen to her.
Say National Socialism is a better way than capitalism or communism. That is quite clear, that I would say. Because economy as it is now is deadly. It's really deadly to the earth and to the human beings.
Yeah, that's what I believe. It's deadly to the earth. The economy as it is now is deadly to the earth and all the wildlife and the human beings. All of them. Everyone who lives on the earth is, except for the Larry Ellison group and the Jared Kushner group, everybody else is suffering under this stuff. I mean, some of us are getting by, but I mean, I see a lot of suffering. And I live in one of the wealthiest places in the world, Southern California. You drive around LA, you drive around Santa Ana, you drive all over the place, you will see horror, like things that are horrifying. I just did today, driving through Santa Ana. It's I had to do business now, and I saw things that made me sad. And they weren't white people; they were different races of people, and it was horrifying. I was horrified by it, and I wished I could do something for them. Anyway, let's listen to some more of this garbage from Alex and Tucker.
That's the worst and fakest choice in world history. Like, you don't have to participate in that.
Absolutely. So that's the issue.
And so who's telling me I have to participate?
Nobody is, Tucker.
Years later,
And then it gets worse. You have the ADL that keeps World War II going in our minds that now says white America is Hitler.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's basically
the people who liberated the camp in our little town, really little town where we're sitting right now. There's a war memorial, and a bunch of guys from this little town died fighting Hitler, which, I'm against.
Okay, so I thought you said Hitler ruined Europe, but then you just said that people from your town went all the way to Europe to fight and kill people in Europe. So who was killing the people in Europe? It was you. You're the one that did that.
That's Hitler, okay, but to then call that country responsible for what Hitler did, I mean, it's too much. I can't deal with it.
Oh, I mean, I've had the ADL and stuff calling me a Nazi years ago, and I just sit there and I look at it. They know exactly what they're doing, and it's so cheap. And now they see what it's done. It's blown back on them, where now you've lied so much and demonized so many good people. Now a lot of people think, well, then Hitler must be great. Because if you're calling me Hitler and I'm not, well, then Hitler must be good because they're not educated.
Oh, it's because I'm not educated, Alex. I'm not educated. I just don't know what I'm talking about. It's just, I'm just under some kind of mind control. Shut up. This seems to be an interactive live chat. I don't know how I found, but I'm here. Will be respectful. Okay. Anyway, let's listen to some more of this.
I mean, I can tell you it's a long story, but my dad's dad was in North Africa.
By the way, if anyone who's listening to me is Jewish, I don't want to hurt the Jews just because I said I like Adolf Hitler. That doesn't mean I hate Jews or want to kill Jews. I think that if you think that, that's crazy. I'm gonna have to replay this again. It's right here. This is what I think. It's like this video.
Socialism is a better way than capitalism or communism. That is quite clear. That I would say, because economy as it is now is deadly. It's really deadly to the earth and to the human beings.
That sums up what I believe. Okay, anyway, let's continue with this video.
22 missions. And then once they took Italy, he volunteered for another 22 missions, B-17. And then they attacked their base. They got strafed and stuff. And he got a Purple Heart, so luckily couldn't captain. And then his group went up the next week and all got killed. And then finally he stopped volunteering. So he only made you do 22 missions. But he then, as an officer, got put in charge of food trains and food supply.
So Alex is telling the story about how someone in his family went to Europe to fight and kill Europeans. On behalf of who? Okay. The same group that Larry Ellison and Jeffrey Epstein are part of. That doesn't mean all Jewish people. It doesn't. And I don't think, I don't even want to get into that part of it. But I mean, that was the mafia, the Jewish mafia, and I'm going to tell you, it's the Jewish mafia and it's the Jesuits. They were working together with Washington, D.C., the powerful Jewish mafia and the Jesuits. So it's not all the Catholics and it's not all the Jews, but it's the Jewish mafia and the Jesuits, and they're working with the Freemasons. That was the gang, okay? So anyway, but Alex talks about how someone in his family went over to Europe to go kill the Europeans. And you're proud of this? I wouldn't be proud of that. Anyway, let's hear what he says.
And he described to my dad, never really told the stories about all the starving Italians he saw and the death and how it really freaked him out.
Oh, okay, all the starving Italians and all the death in Italy. Okay. Well, that was Hitler's, those were the allies of Hitler, the starving Italians. They had lost the war. Who was killing them, Alex? Who was killing all the Europeans, Alex? Who's killing all the Europeans, Tucker? It wasn't Hitler. He was defending Europe, and Mussolini was defending Italy. And you know what? When Mussolini lost the war, guess who the U.S. was allied with? The Sicilian. And as soon as the war ended, the heroin that used to go east was now all flowing west into New York City. All flowing west into New York City.
and then later going into Germany and just dead bodies from disease.
Oh, from disease. Oh, the dead bodies from. So he went into Germany. You're the guy that was in the U.S. military. Alex says this is the story he tried to tell Kanye. He saw all the dead bodies from the disease. Oh, it wasn't from the U.S. bombing them. It wasn't from the U.S. bombing them. It was from the disease. Okay, Alex, liar.
Dead bodies as far as you could see, blackbirds eating people's eyes out, just stuff out of total hell.
Right. And that just happened. But that just happened, Alex? Or did the U.S. Army invade and kill those people and bomb them, and arm Stalin to bomb and attack from the other side? So this idea that Hitler destroyed Europe is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That was the reality he saw about
World
War II.
The U.S. destroyed Europe, and then it kept destroying Europe and kept destroying Europe, and it's destroyed Europe ever since. And it's not just the U.S., it's that whole cabal that the U.S. has been bought up by. That's the U.S., it runs Canada, it runs UK, it runs the European Union. They're destroying Europe. That's who it is. And they got in that position by defeating Hitler. So Hitler was the last person to try to do something for Europe, for the German people. And you guys killed him.
Then my other grandfather was also the Army Air Corps. And, but long story short, he didn't see a lot of action because that was a technical thing. The plane crashed. He almost died. So he luckily lived because he had problems early on and didn't see a lot of action.
How was World War I a win for anybody?
Well, the British did start that one.
Oh, of course. The one group that doesn't get the credit they deserve for making the world worse are the Brits.
Oh, even.
I'd like to see more anti.
I just want to know here because you have a comment. My cousins are Jewish. I'm not. That's fine. Look, I'm not even making this about Jews. I don't admire some of the things. Look, and I don't think Hitler was like Jesus Christ. Like, I don't think that he was like, he couldn't do anything wrong. No, it's just that he tried to do something for Europeans. And that's what people like about him. Are there things that he did wrong? I'm sure there are. The thing is, I don't even want to make this all about Jews. I want to make I just want European people to survive well and be doing well. And it's not going to happen under this Republican stuff that they're pushing with Donald Trump. I mean, I voted for Donald Trump 3 times, okay? But anyway, let's continue with this video.
British conspiracy theories on Twitter, personally.
I can listen, their system of manipulation is really low. But the reason I was going on that long story was just real fast, I told Kanye this a few years ago. Who cares about your grandfather? But my mom's dad was on one side of his family German, still spoke German.
See, he has these stories, and it's like, oh, Hitler ruined Europe. And he's like, but my grandpa flew airplanes over there bombing them. Okay, so your grandpa bombed Europe? But Hitler ruined Europe. But your grandpa bombed Europe. He flew planes over Europe dropping bombs on the people that lived there. You see how stupid that is? Tucker's like, Hitler ruined Europe. And Alex is like, yeah, my grandfather bombed them. He dropped bombs over Europe. Dude, that's Europe. That's our home, bro. Why are you bombing my home, bro? Why are you bombing my home? Why are you bombing my home, Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson? That's what you guys did.
The other side, his mom was like old Texas family up in Dallas. They were wealthy. So they lived next to the inventor of refrigeration. And he worked for him as an apprentice when he was like a teenager. And later he went on to play UT football and then, went and joined the Army Air Corps for World War II. But he knew about the Germans. He wasn't in the Bund in the 30s, but went to some Bund meetings of the German-American Bund.
Yeah.
Hitler was on the radio, Time Magazine, a good guy. They were German. They went and,
Now, let me answer this question. So people like to bring up this thing about how Hitler was on Time Magazine and stuff at first. So this is an important question because many researchers have looked at this and they said, well, he was getting some sponsorship by certain people in the U.S. and Ford and some other banking groups and stuff connected to Chase Bank. Why would they do that? The reason at first, you got to understand, they thought that there were powerful people in the U.S. because Hitler was popular. He had a popular message. They thought that they were going to take Hitler and use him to attack Russia. But then that didn't happen at first. See, that happened way later. So in the beginning, why Time Magazine and stuff were saying that he was good. In the beginning, they thought they could use him the same way they're using Ukraine to attack the Russians. And there's a famous quote by Harry Truman, which says, if the Russians are winning, we will help Germany. And if the Germans are winning, we will help Russia. And in that way, kill as many as possible. Harry S. Truman. In other words, there was a conspiracy by people connected to Harry S. Truman and that whole group over there in Washington, D.C. and New York to exterminate as many people as they could in a war between Germany and Russia. So they thought that if they backed Hitler, that then they could get Hitler to attack Stalin. But then Hitler made a pact with Stalin, and he grabbed Paris, and he grabbed Austria, and he was unifying the western part of Europe, which wasn't what they wanted. See, that's what happened. That's why you can find instances where Hitler and where German National Socialist German soldiers wearing Nazi armbands were with Soviet Union soldiers in Poland, and they had a corridor there. They had a big pact. They had an agreement, right? And so what happened was Hitler. There were some people that thought they could work with Hitler, and they're like, "Well, this guy's okay." That's why he was on Time Magazine. That's what Alex Jones mentions. And then what happened was he says, "I'm not going to attack Russia. We want to take back Austria. That's our homeland. Those are our people. We want Paris. We want Austria. We want all the Nordic land. Unify the Germanic races, just as they had under what was called the Holy Roman Empire, which was the Prussian Empire. They had this union of Protestant churches that was all over Germany and all up into the north. That was all destroyed by these sinister cults connected to Washington, D.C. and the Vatican. This is the other secret part I'll tell you, is that the Jesuit order is the group that was behind the plot to kill Hitler, the movie that Tom Cruise was in. It was the 1944 plot to kill Hitler, Operation Valkyrie. That was run by the Jesuits, August Roche or something. I can't remember his name. But anyway, let's watch them. So it was the Jesuits working with Washington, D.C. and this Jewish mafia together. They didn't want Hitler doing all this stuff. And so eventually they were able to get him snagged up into Poland and then broke the treaty. And then that's what caused the war to escalate. And they brought the Russians in, they brought the American bombers in, and they annihilated Germany. That's what happened.
Some of it. But towards the end of the war, the inventor of refrigeration, who's like a trillionaire there, $100 billion today, committed suicide. And he was German. And they had his family in Germany, and it sucked all the money out of him during the war and still killed his family at the end of it. So that was the kind of story.
See, what? They did this is like some story. Okay, and Hitler did this, you're saying? Hitler, that's what's so stupid. Look, in a war, one of the things that happens in a war, especially when your side's losing, is shit gets out of control, man. That's why I'll say there's a lot of stuff that people say about what happened during World War II. And you have to understand, a lot of stuff that did happen, like stuff that was bad, happened because once you start a war like that, shit just gets out of control, man. It's not like there's police on every corner. You know what I mean? People are getting killed here and there. People have beefs with some other guy. They run over to that town, kill people in the town next to that they don't like. Maybe, see what I mean? There's all kinds of stuff that gets out of control. But Alex tells this story about some guy that he knew that ran a refrigerator company, and he kills himself, and they were mean to him or something. I don't know what happened.
The stories I got about Hitler from my grandfather was Inside Baseball.
Yeah, Inside Baseball, a story. A story about some guy.
The really rich ones that had German family in Germany. Hitler was literally holding them hostage.
Oh, okay. He was holding them hostage, Alex? Shut up.
All the money out of German Americans.
Sure. Now, you notice all the lies that, and they've lied about Alex Jones, right? Lies and lies and over the years. They told Alex Jones was behind the Sandy. Alex Jones killed the kids at Sandy Hook. Remember that? But Alex Jones is like, oh, they're lying about me and they're lying about me. And then he goes off and then says all these lies about World War II and Adolf Hitler, and then claims Hitler is bad, although his grandfather bombed Europe and killed people that are related to me and him. How stupid is that to kill your own people? That's so dumb.
It's so those are firsthand, from family experiences what Hitler did. These people that love Hitler have no idea what a monster he was.
Yeah, and I feel like we really missed.
Well, the thing is, Alex, I don't know all those stories. I don't know those people. All I know about Hitler, actually, is the things that he said that are recorded on video, or the book that he wrote called Mein Kampf. The Mein Kampf book, it was okay. The part that I found most interesting about Mein Kampf is that he spoke directly about how his dream to unify Germany and Austria. You have to understand that this is something that I have still right in my blood, and I don't even live there. I mean, imagine living there and wanting to be with your people, and like there's this artificial barrier. It's like, either you have this drive within you or you don't. But Hitler had it. And the other thing that I found very interesting about Mein Kampf was that he talked a lot about the Habsburg government. He spent more time talking about the Habsburg government than he did with talking about Jews. So it was about the Habsburg government. It was about how they were a bunch of basically incompetent people who didn't really care about the populations that they were serving. So anyway, but then you have all the videos of him speaking, and a lot of them have translated into English now. So it's not like I can't hear him talk. See, Alex, it's not that I've been tricked or I don't know. It's that I've listened to a bunch of his speeches, and I liked them. I liked what he was saying. So that's why, Alex. It's not because I've been tricked. Anyway,
our chance to exercise genuine American exceptionalism. You can say, in 1941, and say, okay, we're just not for totalitarian systems. We're not going to support.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I have to say. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll talk to you later.